Well, would you be willing to share a favorite recent moment that you've had with Emmanuel or a favorite story from a client that you only to the level of your comfort, but I would love to hear.
Yes. Well, so I have thousands of stories that I
I'm
can't share.
sure.
But one of the things I've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours over the last 25 years getting permission, which is why, in my books, I mean, if you
Yes.
look at all my material on the website, there's stories everywhere.
I'll link that in the description for sure.
Yes. And yeah, like on our website, we have like there's a testimonies page that has, like 20 pages of stories. And on our newsletter archive, yeah,
Okay.
last fall I spent 200 hours going through 25 years of newsletters. So there's like 400 newsletters there.
Mhm.
And
Great.
every third one or every fifth one or whatever is some story from somewhere in the world that I got permission to share.
I love
So
it. Yeah.
if you're ever feeling bad,
Yes.
seriously, I mean, if you're having a bad day or you look at the news and it's discouraging and scary and confusing, okay, spend 20 minutes going to that newsletter archive and skip the ones about, it's an announcement about a new essay or whatever. Okay, fine. But just kind of go through and you find three or four of those stories about, whatever, some village in India or some farmer in Kansas or whatever. You read three or four of those, and I guarantee you will feel better.
Yeah,
You will
definitely.
reading true stories of the Lord's living, tangible, wonderful presence. You spend 20 minutes reading those,
Yeah.
and you will have a tangible, positive shift in your mood.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so the question I saw you sent me that question ahead of time, and boy, my favorite story. That's some stiff competition.
I'm sure.
So I'll give you a menu, and you can help me
Okay.
select what might be most helpful for your audience.
Yes.
So there's a story about the little girl in Uganda whose mother had to go back to the States for medical care, and she was just inconsolate, and the 25-year-old missionary on that team had learned about the Emmanuel approach and kind of just did a spontaneous session with her, and she had this beautiful connection with Jesus. Is that one like if you're thinking, oh, all the people on my YouTube channel will have heard that one, then I'll pick another one.
Yeah. Well, I'm not really sure. So let's go. I would love to hear that
Yeah,
story.
well, so I'll give you a little bit more. And part of the punchline is, what does Jesus look like? She gives
Mm,
an answer that's just, well, just
I love it. Yes.
so here that story. This is I don't know, a number of years ago now, but mission family in Uganda, and the mom was just having all kinds of medical problems that they could not figure out. It got to the point where she needed to go back to the States to get first world medical care and diagnostic work to figure out what's going on here. And it had a number of kids. They so part of the thing is she's mom's gonna be gone for 3 weeks or 2, 3 weeks or whatever, as long as it takes. So the kids, that's a bit of a stressor. And yeah, I think the youngest kid in the family was 4 years old, little girl, Eliana. So just the idea of mom's gonna be gone, that's hard. And then the day she's leaving, dad is driving her to the airport, and um, in and out of the capital of Uganda. I mean, which where they had to go to fly her home. It could be an 8 hour trip if the traffic was bad enough. So, like for 8 hours, mom and dad are both going to be gone. Mom's not coming back for weeks. Dad's going to be gone as well. And the
Mm,
plan is, this 25-year-old person who's kind of living with the family, and she was a member of the mission team. She was going to take care of all the kids. They're going to watch a movie. She's going to give them dinner. They're going to watch a movie together, put them all to bed, which kind of mostly worked for the older kids. But this little 4-year-old, she was undone. I mean, I think my guess is that she could perceive, kids are pretty sharp.
yeah.
And if you got a 4-year-old, and if the grown-ups are worried enough about mom that they're going to send her to the United States for 3 weeks, I mean, my bet is that little girl at some level realized something's really wrong with mom.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
So that's close to the end of the world. I mean, if you're four, you know, mom not being okay, that's a really, really big deal. And she's going to be gone for a long time. If you're 4 years old and you're afraid your mom's not okay, and she's going to be gone for several weeks, that's that's a long, 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 long time. And Dad's gone to, those are my guesses about what's going on there. But the observable result was she was inconsolable. I mean, she was just going back and forth from, crying and whimpering and
Mhm.
moaning to sobbing uncontrollably. And this, the 25-year-old, she knew the kids. I mean, it was not like she didn't know them all. They knew her, they trusted her. She, she knew all the usual, what usually works, and
Yes.
nothing did. And none of those usual comfort measures worked. This little Eliana was inconsolable. So she had been learning about the Immanuel approach. She says, okay, she sets the rest of the kids, they've had their meal, they're watching their movie. She takes Eliana up to the big comfy chair in mom and dad's room and just sits her down and just takes a few minutes just to pray. Okay, Jesus, show us what to do. And then just, hey, Eliana, what's one of your favorite things to do? Well, I like to play with mom. And okay, well, tell me what's one of the favorite things when you play with mommy? What's one? Well, sometimes mommy and I will and the little baby. Actually, I guess she had a little baby sister who was going back to the States with mom. But so the 4-year-old, yeah, and we'll lay on the big bed and we'll kind of giggle and she'll tickle me and I mean and Elise just kind of coached her. So tell me more about that. What are you seeing? Okay, the fan's on and and the mosquito netting is there and what's and mom tickling me and we're giggling and she just coached her for 5 or 6 or 8 minutes to just talk about all the details. Okay, close your eyes and picture it and kind of remember that time playing with mom and tell me all about it. She just did that for 10 minutes until the little girl was smiling. She could see that she's connected to the memory. She's feeling grateful. Okay, okay, now let's just invite Jesus to be with you there. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know how to do that. You have to help me. Okay, let's just do it. So Jesus, can you please be with me here? Help me to see you. So the little girl like, okay, Jesus, please be with me here. Help me to see you. Then she pauses. She's got her eyes kind of scrunched closed. And she goes, him is there. Him is there. Him is really there. So that's kind of cool because that just happens spontaneously. It's not like I'm trying to convince her to
I
fabricate this. She's like, oh my goodness, something's happening. So then Elise just coaches her. So just talk to Jesus about, hey, you're scared and mommy's gone and you're feeling lonely. Just talk to Jesus about it all. They got done and she's fine. She is just completely fine. And the whole rest of the time, I mean, well, that whole rest of the night until dad got back, she was fine. And then for the next several weeks, mom being gone, anytime she would get into trouble, Elise would say, hey, do you want to do do you want to do the Jesus prayer thing? And she's like, yeah, that's a good idea. That'll help. And they had a couple of troubleshooting bumps here and there. I mean, over 3 weeks of mom being gone, that's a pretty challenging deal. But usually with a couple minutes of troubleshooting, she reconnects with Jesus. The whole time mom's gone, she's connected to Jesus, she's fine. So that was really cool. But for me, the cherry on top, the most fun part of the story, I mean, that's all actually pretty cool.
Yes, is amazing.
And that's all amazing. That's wonderful. And just the fact that a 4-year-old in inconsolable attachment pain,
Mhm.
her felt presence of Jesus, the loving, attuning, felt presence of Jesus was so real to her that her inconsolable attachment pain was completely like she was completely okay now that she can perceive Jesus and went to bed without problems, slept the night. I mean, and then every time the problems came up for the next 3 weeks, she was okay if she can connect with Jesus. That's kind of a big deal. And the more you know about attachment pain and inconsolable loss of a primary caregiver for a preschooler, it's like, wow, that's not a small deal. So that's all cool.
Yes.
All that said, still my favorite part is so after Elise had done this, they'd done this 5 or 6 times during those 3 weeks, and they finished one of those, and it just kind of came. She's just like, when you're in the middle of the session, the most important thing is coach the person to interact with Jesus. But after you're done, you can ask questions. I mean, that's save your questions for later, which she did. So they had a prayer time, and it was another beautiful prayer time, and they were kind of finishing up, and she just couldn't. She just like she was curious, like, so Eliana, what does Jesus look like? Because every time they do this, and she describes, well, Jesus is here, Jesus is there, this is what he's doing. Jesus, and when we do the prayer time, what does Jesus look like? She says, oh, him looks like he loves me.
I love it. I love
I was
it.
like, and she also asked, like, yeah, that's like the 4-year-old went straight to the truth. Elise is thinking, what is he wearing? Does he have a beard? Which, when she asks questions, Eliana can fill all that in. He's got a big purple. He's got a thing across his chest. And it's kind of blue, but it's blue. I don't know. It's kind of blue or it's kind of red. She didn't know purple.
Yeah.
So she describes this big purple sash, like, which is, I mean, she described things from Revelations that I'm just like, wow, that's really interesting. And she didn't even
Yeah.
have words for them. She had to
Yeah.
try to find the words. But the first thing this little 4-year-old says, like, well, I can see his face, and he's got this beautiful smile, and I can just from the expression on his face, like, him looks like he loves me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I know. It's just so beautiful.
That's in my top 10, but that's there's
So
there's
I,
really stiff competition at the top.
yes, I am sure. I am sure. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. And finally, I would just like to know, how has Emmanuel changed your life?
Oh man.
This
So, I
is
mean,
probably another long one.
I've given some of the pieces there. I did 38, 40 years of Christian life and discipleship with no felt presence of the God, no felt presence of the tangible,
Yes.
felt sense of the tangible presence of God, and that was really hard. And then
It is.
increasingly for the last 25 years, the felt sense of God's tangible, living, interactive, personal presence has been more and more the center of my faith. And the first 38, 40 years, like the written word was all I had. And that's a big foundation. But I have become convinced that the real plan is the living word is actually the foundation. The written word is the next circle out. The written word is, I mean, that's okay, that's right there. But the first foundation, the center of the target is actually the living word. And I think that's actually biblical. I mean, I don't have a seminary degree, but
Yes.
I think that's actually biblical that the living word is the center of the gospel in the church.
Yes. Absolutely.
And the written word is the next circle out. And that shift has just transformed my living, usable, everyday faith life in so many ways. It's
Yeah. It's hard
it,
to even probably describe.
I mean, somewhere in the big line book, in one of those chapters about observable changes, I have like there's a couple pages where I try to describe all the different, like all the spiritual fruits. If you spend regular time with the living, tangible, interactive presence of Jesus, and you're watching him model how to do things, and you're watching, I mean, you're interacting with him, your right hemisphere is actually learning to be like Jesus. I mean, your brain, this is the way your right hemisphere works. As you spend time with somebody that you admire and you want to be like them, your right hemisphere is saying, "Well, show me what's it like to be Jesus." And even if I'm not specifically asking that, as he's interacting with my patients that I'm working with, I watch how he does it. When I'm having my own sessions, I'm experiencing his living presence. Your right hemisphere, your mirror neurons, your plastic, your relational skill, your relational maturity skill, right hemisphere, the part of your brain that learns relational maturity skills and all that stuff, you're actually learning, you're watching the living presence of Jesus, and your brain is actually modeling after him and becoming more like the mind of Christ.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the brain science, that's how the brain science works.
Yeah.
So that's like, that will produce spiritual fruit. And getting rid of traumas that interfere with your brain and sabotage and hinder it from working the way it's supposed to work. If you get rid of traumas and spend regular time watching Jesus and modeling after him, every indicator of spiritual fruit, like all the scriptural things of the fruit of the spirit, the gifts of the spirit, every single one of those, you'll just watch steadily grow. And so, you know, somewhere in the Big Line book, I described that, just I named 20 of the details, but that's like, and every year that goes by, this is one for Charlotte and I, for 20 years now, every 2 or 3 times a year we'll pause, like at our anniversary and birthdays. We'll usually pause and think about remember how the year has been going, and we can look back every 2 or 3 times a year, every year. We can look back over the last 3, 4, 6 months and notice specific observable changes, positive changes in our spiritual growth, in our faith, in our maturity, in our relationalness, in the quality of our marriage. I mean, every 6 months, every 4 months for the last 20 years, we've paused and looked back, and you
Yeah.
can name specific spiritual fruit, spiritual gifts, spiritual growth, maturity, capacity, compassion, concrete stuff that you can will notice these things are different. And we can both agree, notice them and describe them and agree on them.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
that's just very cool. That is,
Very cool. Well, and so one of my interests is Christian formation, and I what I keep thinking is Emmanuel approach is Christian formation because you are learning from the master. You're learning from
I have,
Jesus.
I mean, oh my goodness.
Yeah. It's incredible. And that's what I think is the beauty of this just approach and this lifestyle is just continually learning from him. And I mean, I've noticed changes in my own life whereas before I know how to work hard and I worked hard at my faith and tried to do all the things exactly what you said. And I think the biggest joy and surprise is that it doesn't even feel like work now.
Oh,
It's more of a joy.
oh,
You know what I
you
mean?
spend time with Jesus,
Yes.
the fruit just kind of unfolds spontaneously. And it's like mostly your job is to notice it and pick it once in a while. Like now
Yes.
your job is the fruit just comes naturally. And then once in a while you need to notice it, pick it and eat it.
Yeah.
And as opposed to somehow trying to manufacture it yourself.
Yeah.
It's
Oh my
just
goodness.
exactly my experience as well. That has been such my experience. In fact, along those lines, occasionally I'll have somebody who has a lot of trauma. So it's kind of a long, slow journey. There's a huge, huge, huge pile, and they kind of shovel it away, and the change is kind of slow. It's steady and it
Yes.
accumulates, but it's slow. And they'll say like, "Wow, how long is this going to take?" I mean, they're kind of basically, so how long will it take until I'm done with my trauma and all my problems are gone? I don't feel any pain anymore, and my life is all sweet and easy. Okay, well, that's kind of going to be when you're in heaven.
Yeah.
But to be on to acknowledge the validity there, there's some folks who've had much harder lives than others, and they
Absolutely.
have a lot more trauma and a lot more triggers, and their average day is a lot harder. So it's reasonable for them to be asking, hey, how fast is this going to get some better? Because life is tough.
Mhm.
And so I acknowledge that. That's valid and say, hey, I'll just validate you've got a hard road to hoe. You've got
Yeah.
a big pile of trauma. And it's sad that it's going to be slow for you because there's such a big pile. But the good news is, as you shovel away at it, you're going to get positive change. It'll just be steady. So that's the picture you're looking at. Constant, steady change for the rest of your life, and it's going to go up. It's going to get better. And part of what's going to make this so much more bearable in the meantime is every hour you spend with Jesus. I mean, you're going to be getting healing work. You're going to be doing hard work, fighting trauma. But at the same time, you're going to be spending time with Jesus. So it's not like, oh, like how many hours do I have to spend with Jesus to get? It's like, I agree, I understand that you want your pain to
Yes.
get less, but as far as like, oh, am I going to have to spend 20 more sessions or 50 more sessions or like just a lifestyle of hundreds over? And like, well, so what if? What if
Yes.
you embrace the lifestyle and you do this, every other week with your prayer partner for the next 20 years? What if you spend 500 hours with the living, tangible, personal, interactive friendship presence of Jesus over the next 20 years?
Right.
Every one of those hours is a good hour. I mean, and it's going to bear fruit in all kinds of other ways in addition to just healing trauma. And my experience from my own journey is if you kind of make that shift, get comfortable in the saddle, and every hour you spend doing a manual prayer, even if it's hard work getting rid of trauma, every hour you spend just being with and learning from and watching and It's experiential learning. It's not just the theory of like memorizing a verse about in your left hemisphere about what I'm supposed to believe about God. This is you're experiencing how does Jesus interact with me? And
Yeah.
you go to these poignant, difficult, painful early memories, and you realize, oh my goodness, he understands my heart better than I do. And he'll do something, you'll realize, oh my goodness, I didn't even realize that's what I needed.
Absolutely.
He actually knew what I needed more than I did. And every hour you spend with Jesus, you'll be learning more about the character and heart of God.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, and building secure attachment, like the way you spend time actually experiencing a person being present and dependable and attuning and safe. Like, oh, and by the way, every hour you spend on that journey, you will be making another deposit into your bank account of experiential secure attachment with Jesus as the foundation of your life. So, oh, you know what? Having this take a while is, I mean, I still want the pain to go away, but
Yes.
the idea that I might have to do hundreds of these over the next 10 years, that I,
Okay.
oh, that's a
Sign me
whole
up.
different perspective.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I love how you put that. It's so true because it's such a yeah, it's well, as you know, the reason I started this whole YouTube channel is because this has changed my life and I want people to know. And each day I wake up, I'm like, I'm excited about hanging out with Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I'm like, I cannot wait. What are we going to get up to today? And I have even noticed I used to feel so much guilt if I didn't have my quiet time, if I wasn't doing all the things. And I'm, I mean, it's not all the way gone, but I have so much less guilt over all of the things. I have so much more joy, so much more peace. And it's just, so exciting, to live this way.
Your spiritual walk, your spiritual disciplines, your quiet time, your relationship with God is becoming more and more joy based as opposed to fear based. And if I were going to be brutally honest,
Yeah,
I would
dude.
say that the first 38, 40 years of my faith walk, a lot of that was fear based. I don't want to burn. I want to go to heaven. I want to get more rewards. I want less pain, more rewards. And I don't want God to be angry at me. And I don't want to be one of those poor goats that get thrown into the
Yeah.
darkness for not doing enough work, whatever. I mean, a huge part of my faith was fear based. And now that's another one. What's changed? My experiential faith that I walk out every day has just becoming more and more joy based, less and less fear based, and that feels so different. It's wonderful. This is crazy. Like the quiet time. Oh, I got to do my quiet time. Seriously, I mean, so the core of my quiet time is get the Emmanuel approach connection and just kind of talk to Jesus and have a subtle sense of his tangible presence and whatever's on my heart, just like I just kind of get words for what's in my heart and talk to Jesus about it. That's the favorite part of my day. In fact, there'll times I'll do it in the morning and I'll get to the afternoon and think, oh, I already did my quiet time today. And I don't, it's like, I wish I could do it again, but I have other something. I'd be like, I already ate my ice cream cone for today, and now I need to just keep working this afternoon. I think, shoot,
Yeah.
I, I already did my quiet time this morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a different new experience.
Absolutely. I'm so there with you.
I thought, can you send me the link to the best way to get to your YouTube channel? Because I could send that out in my newsletter to say, hey folks, just a fun new resource.
Yes.
Yeah, there's somebody that is
Love that. I would
so
love that. It's
so even
definitely I will. I definitely will. And thank you so much for that because that would be great. Um, I just am having a blast with it. But this conversation, you just have no idea. I'm like humming on the inside. That's how I describe when I'm feeling just so overwhelmed with joy and delight and gratitude. So much gratitude for you, Dr. Karl, and all the hours you put in. It's such a gift and it's literally changed my life. And I know it's changed lots of lives, but it literally changed my life. And I just can't tell you enough. I wish I could just give you a big hug. And one day,
California.
yes, come to California. One day I'm going to meet you and I'll be able to hug you face to face. And
I look I look forward to it. I will joyfully receive that hug.
yes,
And you're welcome for all. I mean, like I'll be honest, it has been a lot of work. And writing is slow and painful for me. And it took me like 10,000 hours to write that big line book and then supplementary chapters on the website. And that, like, it's not quite passing the kidney stone, but halfway there. You know, writing is slow and painful and hard.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of work.
Yes.
But I would do it again. I mean, I feel like I won the lottery as far as what the Lord has asked me to do. You know, to be able to be in the middle of a manual approach for the world
Yes.
feels like one of the coolest jobs in the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I actually just recently I said to Jesus, I because I'm interested in Christian history, the early church mothers and fathers and everything and there's glimpses. I mean, you
Yes.
can see glimpses. They
Yes.
understood. They understood. And we have veered away. But I said, thank you that I get to be alive during the time of Immanuel approach. So that's credit to obviously to Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, but to you as a vessel to get this out and the right mind to really work it out. And I'm so
Well,
grateful.
the number one goal in my whole life is to be a good steward of this. I feel like I've been given that pearl. I mean, that like there's all these scriptures that I'm like, oh, I get it. You know, like when I was doing just like left hemisphere cognitive, read the verses and try to do it and no felt sense of God's presence, like the pearl of great price, like, well, I
Yeah,
mean, I guess it's good news to not burn in hell for eternity. And you know, like they say heaven's wonderful, but like I couldn't feel it. And he went and sold all he had and to buy that and to buy the pearl of great price or the treasure in the field. Now it's like that just feels it's like wow, that's my life. I mean,
yeah,
I've been given the pearl of great price, and my job is to share it. And this is the really crazy thing is, it's like it multiplies. It's not just one. I mean, like
yes,
it's they have babies. I mean, there's like every morning you wake up and there's more of them in there, and basically as many any person that is willing to receive it, the Lord gives you another one to hand away. I mean, I feel like yeah, I live with the pearl of great price
yeah.
and how to share it with as many people in the world as possible is like that's fire in my bones every day, all day long.
Yep. Well, you've passed that on to me, so thank you so much. I've got it. I feel it. It's like this felt thing that I just can't. I'm like, people need to know about this. People need to know about this.
Oh, so one more fun story, and then I
Yes,
have to get
yes,
lunch with
yes.
Scarlett.
I probably,
Yeah,
yes.
yes. So this one, I can't remember. I don't know if it's written anywhere yet. Maybe in the little intro, the little new intro book. But I was uh, had a client in my practice, non-believer. Um, when he called on the phone, and I think the only reason I even took him because there's so many people wanting a manual approach that like now
Yes.
if that's not what you want. Uh, but I think his parents said I knew his parents said he basically he had horrible depression, horrible panic disorder, and had tried all kinds of stuff. I mean, he had tried 5 or 6 different meds, 5 or 6 different therapists. I mean, he had really, at appropriate doses. I mean, he really had done a rigorous job of everything else the world had to offer, and he was still utterly miserable. And he said, "My parents begged me to come see you before I kill myself. You know, if this doesn't work, you know, like I'm hopeless. I've tried everything. I'm miserable. My life is unbearable. I'm going to put a bullet in my head." But I agreed to I told my parents I'd come see you before I do it.
Yeah.
Said, I told them, okay, well, so the thing I use is a faith-based tool, and here's what it looks like. So if that's if you're willing to do that, I'm willing to see you. And he's like, okay, I'll try anything. So he comes in, the same conversation. I mean, first I verified the diagnosis. I mean, I checked all history to make sure that was all in place. Yep, that was all accurate. And I said, okay, here's the deal. And I know you don't believe in God. You're an agnostic. You told me on the phone, but here's what I'd like to try. Now, in my experience, that the depression and panic, if it's not being caused by trauma, it's always at least being made worse by trauma. If there's trauma in your life that connects to this stuff, I'm sure your picture will get at least better if we can find that and resolve it. And this tool, when it works, is the gentlest, most effective tool I use. So would you be willing to try it? He said, I'll do anything. I'm out of options. I'm going to put a bullet in my head.
Right.
I mean, Brady, he said, Bailey, that's all right. I've got nothing to lose.
Right.
Says, okay, here's what we're going to do. Positive memory thing. So I describe it. He goes into the positive memory. Okay, no, here's the prayer. So Jesus, I don't even believe you exist, but if you do exist and you're not a jerk, because he had lots of negative experiences. Like if you're not a horrible jerk, like some of the believers I know, um, then come to my memory and I have a way to perceive your presence. So,
Yeah.
would you be willing to pray that prayer? He goes, okay, praise that prayer. Then he goes, his head jerks back. I see it. And I was like, whoa, what just happened? He goes, Jesus is in my memory. And I said, you don't believe in Jesus. You're an agnostic. I had this little mischievous,
You bet.
I don't, it was terrible. But he's like, no, no, he's standing right in front of me. He's in my memory. And I was like, well, how do you know it's Jesus? I mean, you didn't even believe in him 3 minutes ago. And I mean, you've never met him before. How do you know it's Jesus? He says, dude, when the Son of God is standing in front of you, you know who he is. So I was like, okay. So that was cool. But
Mm.
that was just the beginning. That's one night. That was cool. The next crazy piece, 4 sessions. His depression and panic are gone. I mean, go to the memories, totally memory anchored. If I could do that every time, I would totally have a Nobel Prize. I mean, seriously. If I had suicide level in untreatable, persistent, chronic, major depression, panic disorder, that every appropriate treatment had already been tried and failed, and you could totally not just it's significantly statistically significantly better, 20% less.
Right.
They still wants to kill themselves, but that would be a big treatment. I mean, if you had a
That would be huge.
if you
Yes.
had a medication that brought it down 20%, they'd make $1 billion. If you made it so it didn't even meet criteria, but it was still smoldering, they would be like,
Yeah.
that'd be
That's amazing.
that'd
Yeah.
be headlines. To have it be gone, I mean, completely gone,
Incredible.
crazy. So that was wonderful.
That
And
is
it's still not
incredible.
the best part. The best part was we get done with it. So the last time he comes in, he was like, "Wow, there's nothing really here. I'm feeling great. My panic and depression are all gone." So I said, "Okay, that's wonderful." And then leans towards me, and he just this guile is just kind of like, look. He just says, "Is this what you Christians do?" I said, well, what do you mean? He's like, this thing we're doing with Jesus, like we do this prayer and Jesus shows up and we just talk to Jesus. Like, is this what you Christians do? I'm like, I'm sorry it was so hard to see. And there's more to Christianity than just this, but this is supposed to be the most important part. So he goes, so if I become a Christian, can I keep doing this?
So beautiful.
I said, yeah, yeah, absolutely. He goes, well, so can you let me be a Christian so I can keep doing this?
I love it. I love it. Oh,
Talking about the good news. I mean, that was like, he was just like,
yeah.
can you let me in?
Yeah.
Can
Yeah,
you let, can
exactly.
you let me be a Christian so I can keep doing this?
Yes. That's so beautiful. I just see the delight of Jesus over that so much,
Oh,
I mean, yeah, this is incredible. This is what I think about with evangelism. I'm like,
oh,
this is why me tell you about him? Do you just want to meet him?
yes, yes. I mean, so I have a bachelor's degree in chemistry and a bachelor's degree in physics and a bachelor's degree in biology and a minor in math and a doctorate of medicine and 4 years of postdoctoral neurology and psychiatry study. And I've been doing, 300 hours of continuing medical education every year of my entire career. So
Yes.
it's like I have some ammunition, but if you get the cocky 20-year-old who wants to argue about God, Christians are stupid and there's no real evidence for God, and I can have it's like, I I can I can have that. I can have that conversation.
No.
But honestly, now I'm just like, you know what? Those are all interesting questions. And honestly, I have more important things to do. So, go find somebody else to argue with about your philosophical reasons for not believing in God. I mean, I personally do, and maybe I'll take 5 minutes to say a few things. But what I'm really interested in, would you be willing to try an experiment?
That's
You know,
exactly.
you're so confident that God doesn't exist. Here's what I'd like to try. That might be a little scary. Maybe you'll discover that maybe God will show up. Maybe, I mean, so I understand if you're afraid to do that,
Yeah.
but if you have the courage, would you be willing to try it? And I kind of, especially if it's a guy, I'm kind of like, I'm tweaking him on purpose.
Speaking him
It's
on
nuts.
purpose.
I mean, you see,
Dr. Karl.
you're so courageous in your intellectual honesty to challenge God and confront all those ignorant Christians. But I realize this might be scary for you to actually try it, and maybe God will show up. But if so it's okay if you decide you don't want to do that, but if you have the courage and you want to try it, here's what I'd like to do. So that's my new, I mean, like, if I have some college student, some 25-year-old who wants to argue with me about why Christians are stupid, I'm like, hey, that's an interesting conversation. God bless you. But would you be willing just to try something?
This is what I'm excited about. I keep praying. I'm like, Jesus, I can't wait because that's what I want. I want to experience that with people of all different faiths and persuasions, you know? I'm like, why not? You know, I don't want to tell you about him. I want you to experience him and let's see what happens, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
So those first 40, 38 to 40 years, left hemisphere, cognitive, just my
Yeah.
whole faith life was just left hemisphere trying to believe the truth and act on it. Very hard.
Very hard. Oh my
You
gosh.
know, I never shared my faith. I mean, people knew I was a Christian. I didn't hide it. I didn't lie about it. But like, as far as like actually evangelizing, I never even tried. I mean, I couldn't figure out how I could sell this. I mean, it felt like eating dust. I mean, it was, and somehow in my spirit, I knew that something like, where else would I go?
Yeah.
But I couldn't imagine how to sell it. I mean, it just felt,
Yeah.
well, it just was so hard and so joyless. I never evangelized. I never shared my faith actively with a single person during that entire first 38, 40 years. 100% of the people who I've personally have led to the Lord have been, they try this, they experience Jesus, and then we talk about it. Well, that guy, he's like, can you let me in? But
Exactly.
I had a handful of other people though. I mean, they see, most of the people I do this with are already believers. I mean, they come to me saying, "Oh, can you teach me about the Immanuel approach?"
Yes.
But I've had a handful of non-believers who've been willing to try it, and they've all had these amazing experiences with Jesus. And like I said, that guy, he raised the subject. But the other ones, I after we get a bunch of wonderful healing work, and then I at some point I just say, "Hey, you know, have you ever made a choice as an adult to give your life? I mean, to choose to follow Jesus?" And the guy who's been showing up, who's just changed your life. I mean, have you ever actually made an explicit, deliberate choice to follow him? And 100% of them, they'd be like, you know what? That would be the right thing to do. I want to do that. Okay.
Hey, let's do it. Yeah.
100% of the people I've personally brought to a living faith in Jesus, first they experience
Experience.
a
Yeah.
living, tangible, interactive, felt sense of his personal friendship presence. And then we have the conversation about, you know, well, so what about making the commitment to actually follow him? Every single person.
Single person. Sign me up.
Sign me up.
And yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible. Uh, I wish we could just keep talking forever, but I know you got to go and I do as well, but this has been such a delight. Thank you so much for your time. It really means so much to me and to my viewers.
Yes. And to those viewers out there, all those viewers out in TV land,
Yes.
help spread this. You heard what I said earlier, or maybe that was before we started recording, about the business model. I don't have a marketing department. I mostly give the Immanuel approach away. I let people use it all over the world. It's not copyrighted. So the way it spreads is for people like the folks watching Megan's YouTube to, if you try it and it changes your life, then join the team of those who are helping to share it.
Exactly. Exactly. Blessings on you. So
And
great.
you as well.
Yeah. Have a good one.
And send me that YouTube link.
I will. I definitely will. Mwah. Take care.
Blessings.
Bye.